Hello, everyone. It's me, Sarah Burns, here coming back from 3 weeks of travel to Virginia and Toronto, where I got to spend equally as amount of time in nature by rivers and in the forest and on islands as I did with family. So feeling really refreshed. I brought my mom back to help us with all the farming we have here because we've got a lot of food to process here at our farm. And just for everyone else that's popping on, that this is the first time that you've seen me, the basic gist of this is that this is an opportunity for you to ask a question for yourself, the planet, or humanity. And I work with a group of spirit mentors that I channel and have been working with since I was a child. So if this is something that you feel called to, I do this every week. So as long as I'm not traveling. And here we go. So just make sure you've got some tea around if you're going to be here for the whole set. And to start off, I just like to send a little clearing through the space with this bell. So if you desire to have this clearing come into your own home, feel free to receive that. Here we go. All right, so how this works is just setting the intention that if anything comes up for you during this transmission, if there's any information that feels really important for you to take on and bring into your life as a new tool or as a gold nugget, then please do. If there's something that comes up that doesn't resonate with you or feels like it's not for you, you don't have to take it. So it's believe it, receive it, leave it, or lend it. So lend it is if something comes up that you feel is important, yet it feels like you're not able to digest it right now, or you want to come back to it when you feel a little more prepared for what it might stir up in you, then you can lend it. So the lending process is visualizing almost the information, like putting it in a bundle and sending it into the earth and being able to retrieve it when you are ready. So that's how this works. And the first part of it I'm going to do is I'm going to ask my own question for the invisibles to kind of break the ice with, so to speak. And then if anyone else has a question, please put it on the thread. Hopefully you're putting it through the Be Live Facebook thread, which I'm going to just put this on the comments to make sure everyone knows, because sometimes it can get a little confusing if people put it through a Facebook. And if you want to send a question to me personally, you can send a private message and I'll check occasionally, but if you can also send a little link saying check your messages if you don't want to be known for your question. So that's how this goes. I'm just going to make sure I shared this. Let's see. And then we will get started. So just calling in all the beings that could use this transmission today. So if there's somebody out there on this beautiful planet that is seeking some guidance, that you can find me in the invisibles. If there's a message that desires to come through us for beings in the future, perhaps those, maybe you're just watching this in the future, this is for you as well. So here we go. So my question that I'm going to start with is regarding commitment and regarding the different layers of commitment that are required in deepening a life-term partnership and what that word means. Because I feel like, I'm married, but I've only been married like 7 years, and I feel like there's this teaching and wisdom in this process of commitment that I haven't totally been able to articulate, but I feel like there's something for that and for other people. And so that's my question, is what is the Invisible's reflection on what commitment in a long-term vision is, and what they have to say about that, and for anyone else that's desiring that in their life or trying to understand it. And probably specifically regarding, long-term relationships. So here we go. can't you envelop yourself in the knowing that there is something that designs itself from your perspectives, right? That there is a quality of existence that can only come into fruition if you choose to take actions on the physical plane, to create a foundation for your visions to manifest. So commitment is a word that we see representing and reflecting the desire to design something that is strong enough to take on the forms or to birth itself into something that is beyond what you can imagine when you begin your initial commitment. That you're committing to something that is not necessarily tangible, but that it speaks to a part of you that listens to the alignments that are present. Because as beings who are connected to time in a very malleable context, you'll understand that when you commit to something, there's an aspect of you that is feeling the potentiality possible with that line of content. That you see someone and you may see the potential in them to a degree, but it is the energetic potential that you're committing to, okay? Because life shapes itself from the many commitments that you make of it, all right? So if you're in a place in your life where there is either a desire for a deeper commitment from those around you or specific ones in your life, what is it that you are desiring that commitment to look like? Because there is, how do we say this? For commitments to be sustainable, have a foundation or a container for itself. So perhaps for you, you're desiring that commitment to look like in dire situations when you are unable to self-source. Perhaps you're asking or seeking somebody who can support you in the transition back to your center, right? But if you can't word that, and you have a dynamic where you've believed that that commitment to this person or that person's commitment to you in their relationship is going to come with that, and it doesn't, then it's not necessarily that person's fault for not reading between the lines. Not everyone can have the same sensitivity needed to listen to the subconscious, in some ways, accusations, or we say accusations, but Sarah wants us to say something like assumptions. So when you are desiring to create a commitment that's going to feed your future, you have to be really clear with as many surrounding needs that are required for that commitment to take foot. Because if you can articulate more of what's needed by you and others to feel that there is nourishment coming from this compromises and the compromises that will come forth. So the more that you can do that, the more you can clarify what you're desiring from others and yourself in long-term commitments, the easier it will be to weed out what does not align with that, or to understand where you may be being irrational. Sometimes it's only through expressing the needs one's needs, that you can feel your own internal barometer as to if it aligns with your truth. For some needs are very mental and logical, but when they're spoken, when there's a witness, the witness is able to support you feeling if that is an integrity. And then you can shift it from there. But until you can articulate these needs to play with, to feel what really is imperative to the success of the energy that you're committing to in the future, then there's going to be lots of loose ends, or places for creation or the unknown to design for you in some ways, which is important, or veer you in whatever direction others are desiring to. So thank you. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, Scott, and everyone else that's watching. So that was a little bit of information, a little transmission about commitments and the perspective on that. So for anyone that's new to this, this is a great opportunity for you to ask a question for yourself, humanity, or the planet. And you can do so on the thread. And so as far as I'm aware, I don't have anyone else lined up because we just started. So please feel free to ask a question. I'm going to check my private messages to see if anyone has a confidential question they want to ask. So questions for yourself, humanity. Okay. And I'm just going to check to see if we have any other. All right, we're good. So if I don't see a question, I'm just going to keep going. I have this little thing that I like to say, which is, it's time for intermission song. So I'm just going to sing a little intermission song, kind of to weave some story and play into this transmission while I'm waiting for more questions to come through. So let's see what song wants to come through. Golden light encircles you, the ancient angelic entices you to hold the steady beam of truth, to know your youth is within you, to know your voice is what navigates you. So angels untie the binds that bind us. Know that the wisdom is entangled sometimes within us. Hold on to nothing and let go of all. Burdens and birds fly away. Burdens and birds fly away. All right, so we've got Scott here. And I'm going to show this question for a moment. So we've got Scott Graham, and he's getting a DNA activation tomorrow, and is a little bit nervous but excited too. Any advice? All right. So advice for this. This is exciting. This is actually DNA reprogramming is something that was part of my awakening when I was younger. I know a healer came to me and she showed me one of the many systems for that, and it was very transformative to understand that within our DNA we inherit these blueprints that have been passed down from generations upon generations, generally to keep us safe. And they might be systems that might have helped many of our ancestors, but what happens in this life is that if there is a certain similar situation that arises that's similar to what happened to an ancestor, it can actually spark that dormant DNA to go into whatever system that they have designed for themselves. So it can be very subconscious. And of course, now a lot of the old systems, whether it's hide, go within yourself, block yourself, disassociate, things like that might have protected them in the past. Be quiet. now might not be so relevant. So that's something that I've learned, is learning like what are those dormant systems in us that are working when we get sparked or when they get initiated through life circumstances, and then how do we neutralize them and then create and put in new systems that are more empowering. So that's a little bit of what I've learned. And let's see what the Invisibles have to say about DNA activations. All right. So this is for you, Scott, and for anyone else. All right, perfect. Granting permission for yourself to exceed your ancestral programs, to take and acknowledge the power, the resilience, the determination that is embodied within our DNA, honoring that that is something that has continued to bring life upon life upon life into this world. But as a unique individual incarnated on this planet, granted the gift and the magnificent opportunity to be embodied, we also hold a responsibility to add to the tapestry of what's existing within us. To know that we have been given these bodies, you have been given your body for a specific purpose. That when you leave, when you transform into your next life, into whatever that is for you, there's going to be something that has retained itself within the DNA that you've been a part of. Okay. So when you're stepping forward for this DNA activation, as you call it, when you're making yourself available, we suggest and encourage you to not only set the intention that you are using your own internal knowing and navigation from a deep core part of yourself, from that deep sense of, how do we say this? We want to say translucent, but not translucent. It's a pristine aspect of your soul, okay? And so understanding that during this DNA activation, your body is opening itself up for your soul's pristine input to move through the body's composition. Okay, so what is it that your soul requires to fulfill its role on this planet, right? Sometimes it is within our DNA that there are systems and programs that can actually block the soul's receptors. Well, we call them soul's receptors. It's, how do we describe this to you guys? So there is a design that the body naturally has, that you're inherent, a basic way of existing. The body and your ancestry can support a certain amount of energy moving through it, right? But when you go through DNA activations, you're allowing your body to be open to supporting higher frequencies or voltage or new information that can be akin to higher frequency. That these frequencies that are flooding through your body are actually what ignites and inspires revelation, new ideas, realignment of your internal compass. Because sometimes there's a certain energy that's not available to one to actually get you to the next part in your life, right? That there might be thought forms or designs or desires or directions that don't have the energy to propel oneself towards them, okay? And that can happen because of the actual body that you're inhabiting. Because the body might have systems in place to hold back in fear of having the energy actually take over, turn on too much of your soul's receptors, perhaps create an imbalance of the logical world in your life. That these are fears that can happen on the body, on the tangible level. So we ask and we suggest that when you're going into this work, it is natural for the heartbeat to get faster. It is natural for sometimes a ringing in the ears. But for you, perhaps a tingling or a warming of the hands. And to know that you have internal guides and protectors. We're seeing, oh, I'm going to drop. So I'm just going to, sometimes they want me to articulate. So some of the guides don't really work with words. So there's a new one that's showing me an image. And they're showing me this image of this guide of yours. And like they almost have like they almost look like tusks or something. Like some sort of, like they feel like somewhat animal, but also I almost see a human's face. Like how do we describe like these big, long, like boar tusks or something? But they're showing me the importance of you knowing that you have your own internal protectors and guides that can also work with if there's an energy that's coming towards you in this activation that isn't actually in alignment with what you're ready for, that you don't have to take it all on, that you can receive what you're ready for. And if there's something that doesn't quite feel right to you or feels like out of alignment with what you're capable of holding right now, that you don't have to take that on. So knowing that you always have a choice to work with your speed, your own internal speed, but as long as you're allowing your soul's, what was they calling it? Your soul's receptors to be activated and turned on and be utilized to the best of their ability during this time so that you can have this initiation of energy moving through your body to kind of shift any older blockages. Narwhals, maybe. Yeah, it's like some sort of like these tusks. So I hope that's helpful and excited for you, my dear. Have fun. All right, so moving on. So this is from Tamara. Hello. It's nice to see your typing. All right, so, and for anyone else that's popping on, this is a great opportunity to ask yourself a question for yourself, humanity, or the planet. So this is from Tamara, and she said, I'll show it for a moment. I'm wondering if the Invisibles have any guidance. I'll go over here. I'm wondering if the Invisibles have any guidance or words to share. Oh, you're welcome, Scott. Words to share with us in regards to our relationship to Mother Earth. This seeking is sparked by the wildfires, floods, and hurricanes that are currently occurring. All right. Yes. I'm just going to write that. So, messages for Mama. All right, so this is for her. Yeah, we actually have been looking. Last night we were looking online and just watching the maps of the fires, and this feeling of it like a blanket, like these like blankets of fire. Where we are in BC, actually, I know you're out here in BC tomorrow. Is it's really hard to see this. Like the sun right now is this very eerie kind of pink color because of all the smokes, and each day has had this cloaking. So this is for you, Tamara, and I'll get to yours next, Emily. This is about for Tamara and for Mama Earth. So messages for what's going on with her, any guidance or insight with the fires and the floods. Ring around a rosy, a pocket full of posies. Hush, hush, hush. This is the lesson of the times. We understand that there are many qualities of inspired action on the planet, that there are so many beings, so many animals, so many plants that are doing their best to radiate the desire to thrive, the desire to have balance, the desire to look within and find where that imbalance is within you, addressing how within you can support that imbalance, whether it is an imbalance of rage, whether it is imbalance of too much downpour, emotional upheaval that can leave you high and dry. You see, without a doubt, there is something happening on the planet that is in alignment with and towards the restoration of peace and harmony. Will you see that in your life on a global scale? This is not something that we can say. Of course, we would desire that. Of course, we can say that the planet has come full circle in many ways, but that what is happening is akin to some of the shakings that have been prophesied. That we see this image of, especially we're talking about in North America right now, we see this image of the West in flames. We see the water in the East. Perhaps the flames and the water are trying to balance the hemispheres of this location. Who knows? But we can say that there is a decompression happening, that there has been a huge shock, a tidal wave that has come within the planet herself, because she is using us to relay messages to her as to what is occurring on the outside. You see, humans, they play a certain role in the design. We are messengers. You are messengers. You are messengers from the earth, from each other. You are messengers from the future. You as humans have the capacity to bring information from all areas and directions in life, to hold on and use wisdom from the past to inspire the present, to reel in inspiration from the future. You see, as humans, the access to what's needed is prolific, okay? There is no doubt that everything is available on the planet right now in the form of tools, in the form of knowledge, in the form of potential support to reinstill an order and a system of trust worldwide, okay? You see, as trust has been taken from so many, trust in each other to begin with. For if you cannot trust your own race, if you cannot trust humankind to desire to support and do right upon itself, then you're sending that message to the earth. The earth cannot trust your race. That perhaps your race was here, the human race was here to be a conduit, to help with all these new systems, to be hands of the earth herself. To take the desires and the design for embellishment on this planet, right? There is something to be said about humans playing a role in the fires by not playing in a role to preventing them, okay? To systems that have been in place to return the earth to a state of less vulnerability, systems that have been used for hundreds and hundreds of years, so that vulnerability, in times of vulnerability, the repercussions are less vast, okay? But those systems are not necessarily in place right now. The way of tending to the earth is not necessarily in the same priority on a global level right now. So when the fires come, so when the floods come, people are not able to uproot in the same way, to make space for what the earth is trying to show them, okay? Becoming too sedimentary in your life can happen. And what about the animals? You see, the animals are also relying on the people to assist in this prevention, okay? But to also understand who is in charge here, okay? It's not humans. Who is in charge here? And how is she or he or it? How is the great order that is in charge right now speaking in volumes? And what are you supposed to read for yourself? Because if it has not hit you in the same way on the physical plane, it does not mean that you are not capable of assisting in the balance in your own life, in how you treat others, in the prayers you make, in the actions you take. One suggestion we have for you is to go to a nearby water body. Okay. And to bring some of that water and to light a candle. To have a candle on your altar. To have a glass of water from a nearest water body. And if that's not possible, you can use it from your tap. just fine. Maybe a public pond or a park. And to have these on your altar or close to you in a place that you can see and you can work with what elements that have the containment. Okay. Because that's what's happening. The flames are not contained. Okay. The container for the elemental of fire is not here. What's needed for that elemental to feel contained and honored is not necessarily here in the way it needs. So it's spreading, right? So a candle represents a containment, being able to understand and honor and have reverence for the fire, giving it space to be itself, right? Same thing with the glass of water. The floods represent water that is not contained, that the emotions, that the feminine, there's something that is not having the support and the containment it needs to bring the balance. So having those on your altar. Thank you. All right, everyone. So that was about understanding what's happening with the wildfires and the floods. And moving on. All right, so I think this is going to be my last question for you, Miss Emily, because I have to get my daughter from school soon. So unless it goes quick, I might have room for one more. So, oh, you're welcome. All right. So this is from Emily, and she says, "Hi, Sarah. Thoughts on navigating cycles of depression and inertia?" All right. Can you clarify, Miss Emily, when you're talking about inertia, are you talking about, what does that word mean to you? And if I don't get a response soon, I'll just go for it. They probably understand. Okay. Actually, so cycles of depression and inertia. Here we go. Actually, I feel like, you know what, I'm just gonna wait a moment before I drop in. Okay. Oh my gosh. 52. Oops. Sorry, I thought I clocked out. Okay. As for you, Stokely, this is going to be the last question, I think, unless I can get to you because I got to pick my daughter up. All right, so this is from Emily, thoughts on navigating the cycles of depression and inertia. And this also goes for anyone else that this might connect with, that this might be in your life as well, or perhaps somebody that you know deeply or love deeply. Here we go. Before I do that, I'm just going to send a little rainbow. All right. What is the time of dormancy trying to teach you that you're not learning? Because perhaps you're navigating it from the wrong direction. Perhaps pushing through in the way you've been trying to do is actually what's igniting the dormancy, igniting the part of you to shut down, to withdraw, to lose context of the life that is ahead of you. Okay. We're not saying that it's important to rest and rely on these times, but we are saying that there is something within you that wants the space to feel that it can be still. Okay. But still from yourself as well. Still from the world. Still from society. Still from the demands of others. Still from the expectations of others. A part of you that desires to be weightless in that stillness. Because perhaps your soul is coming from another life or an incarnation from another existence, where that stillness was what was home to you, that there was more spaciousness for you to drop into that stillness, to be appreciated for that part of yourself. Dropping into the breath. We're seeing this image of a young child who is being encouraged to grow up. But what is being shown to her as what being grown up is not appealing. Okay. That's not what she wants to become. That's not what you want to become. Okay. So we're seeing that there is a child that is within you that in some ways is sabotaging the direction that you're desiring to go in, because she isn't feeling heard. She isn't feeling that, maybe that part of you is not feeling that what your inner child wants, what your inner inspired, limitless self wants, is possible. That the world is not designed to support her desires. Well, we're telling you now that that world is only designed to support those desires if you allow those desires to be heard and felt, which you have been doing to the best of your abilities. We see someone that's supporting you, but we also see, or someone you've talked, we also see that we see somebody that you've been expressing, we see someone you've been expressing to, or that they desire the best for you, but they don't believe necessarily in what's possible themselves. So energetically, they're not able to support you in feeling tangibly that it's possible. So we're seeing this image of a woman or a very feminine masculine figure who maybe exists already or is going to come into your life if you desire, who is able to inspire that child within you to feel heard and to feel that there's actually tangible opportunity to explore, so that that part of you isn't shutting down the energy that's needed to make headway in your life. Because whatever that is, this child symbolism or this metaphor, this soul part, she represents your limitless energy, which is not accessible during these times of depression, or for anyone during times of depression or inertia. Okay? It's not accessible. And so if it's not accessible, then you're not able to sustainably push through, or you're pushing and not allowing, right? Pushing and not allowing. So prioritizing allowing, prioritizing creating the space for the seed of that potential energy that is that inner child, that inner being in you that wants to feel truly inspired. Because we see this child that feels like a princess, a queen, that she wants to feel that anything's possible. And that her desires are noble, that her desires will be taken and respected. Okay? And so perhaps there's a fear of that little queen, that little desire, that little being in you not being met. We're not sure. So the first thing we say to you is listen. Listen to what is in the back of your mind, that little voice that's saying, I want to grow into blank. I want to know what it feels like to have this in my life. I want to know what it looks like. But moreover, who is going to come into my life? How can I create space? These are some questions for you. How can I create space for those beings that are needed to inspire me to feel that more is possible, to come into my life? And then for those beings that actually have the tools and the skills and the development to encourage my dreams and my aspirations. There's more to this, we see. There's more to this child, but we'll stop there. Thank you. All right, everyone. So that was for you, Emily, and for all beings. I got to get going and pick up my daughter from school in like a couple minutes. It's her first full day. So thank you all for coming on, and to know, believe it, receive it, leave it, or lend it. Okay, so if anything's come up during this time, during these transmissions that is important to you, it feels like there's some sort of gem in it, please take that tool into your tool belt. Oh, you're welcome, Emily. I hope that was helpful. And, you know, if there's something that you need to leave, it doesn't align with you, doesn't resonate with you, then, you know, leave it. It's not for you. Not everything is going to sit. And I want you to really use your internal compass for that. And if there's something that you want to lend, we say that's almost like lending, like an energetic, creating a little ball of energy of that teaching or something that's come through, or something within you that's been stirred up, but you're not quite ready to look at it or go into it, or you want more support. You can almost see it as an energetic bubble that you put and lend it into the earth, and you return to that when you're ready to chew on that. So thank you all so much, and I look forward to the next time. I've been away for a few weeks, for 3 weeks actually, on my summer vacation. So this happens every Wednesday. I should show this. Here's my website too, if anyone wants to see any of the other stuff I've got going on. So every Wednesday at 2:30 Pacific Standard Time. I look forward to the next one, and until then, aloha. Okay, we gotta go get a little, or I gotta go get a little.
Yeah, I'm coming with. I'm all ready.
All right.
I just listened to the last question.
Oh, nice.
And a little bit of the one before. I felt superstitious about hanging around listening to the whole thing. I don't know why.
That's okay.
Like I'm stalking.
Well, I mean, you can come in if you want.
No. But anyway, I'll listen. I'll rewatch it on its broadcast time. So yeah, I'm all ready, honey.
We're gonna have just got this little routine with you. French fries and fish sticks.
What you say at school?
What? No, after school. She'll come home and she'll have her French fries and fish sticks ready for her.
So do you see us coming to that?
Yeah, we're just gonna
Oh, in that case, I don't need to go with it. Oh, well, this was fun. We need to catfish this fun. Unless you wanted to stay and make the fish sticks and.
No, they're fine.